my name's Jane Rawson. I'm coming to you from Mountain River, which is in the Huon Valley, which is just south of Hobart in Tasmania. This is my backyard, and that's a bird. I wrote the book A History of Dreams because ages ago my mother wrote a history of her mother and her mother's friends who spent their childhoods together in the beachside suburbs of Adelaide, up near Port Adelaide, and who became close friends towards the end of high school, made a vow that they would never marry, they would always stay together as friends, and set out on a bunch of adventures together, most of which were imaginary. They invented their own aristocratic names, they had lots of dress-up parties well into their late teens, as well as organising things like tennis games with other people and fundraisers and things like that. And they, although they broke their vow not to marry, they did most of them marry, they stayed together as friends until their deaths, many, many decades later, and still met at least once a month, even if it was to play bridge rather than to dress up. I was also curious about what actually went on at all these meetings that they had in their youth. They seemed slightly coy about what they'd been up to. So I thought I would investigate what would happen if they decided they didn't want to just go stay at home and have kids, and what might happen if they were witches. It is a kind of a sequel to my last novel, From the Wreck. In From the Wreck, George Hills, who was my real-life great-great-grandfather, is shipwrecked on the Admella, where he meets a mysterious woman who then disappears. He spends his life trying to track her down and eventually discovers that she is a shape-shifting alien from another dimension. And that book was based on real-life family history in that my great-great-grandfather was in a terrible shipwreck, but obviously I rewrote it to make it into something that I was more interested in, which is our relationship with other species on Earth. Some people write books because they have a particular story that they want to tell, or they have a character who they've created in their head who they've fallen in love with, or perhaps they just have an amazing scene that they really want to play out. Everyone starts differently, but for me, I usually write something because there's a problem that I'm having in my head about how the world works, that I want to work through. But rather than writing and researching non-fiction, I like to work my ideas out through imagination and fiction. So A History of Dreams concerns itself with the idea that there are struggles that we undertake that we believe are just and right, and that we should pursue, but often the forces that we face are far too big, and we know that the things that we want will never come to pass, or if they do, it won't be in our lifetimes. People often ask me why my books have so many jokes in them. They're often taken by surprise that there's a lot of humor in the books that I write, because, you know, I usually write about things that can be pretty grim. This book has a vicious women-hating government in it. I find that I can't write myself unless I'm enjoying the process. There's not a lot of money or fame in it for most fiction authors, certainly not for me. And so the main reason that I keep writing is both to figure out ideas in my head, but also to entertain myself. It's pretty much free to write if you can get the time. And it's really fun to create whole worlds out of nothing and to go and live in them and get away from this world for a while. So I want the worlds that I create to be fun for me to be in, and that usually results in quite a lot of jokes. The wind is starting to pick up here a bit. Maybe you can hear it. And also the back of my neck is starting to get sunburned. It's unusually warm for late March in Tasmania. It's a beautiful day here though, and I'm very happy to be coming to you from the Huon Valley in southern Tasmania. Maybe one day I'll write a book set here.